All right, episode 20, is it?
We're up to
I think so.
18 likes so far. Nearly $2.
Episode 20, is it?
Oh, fuck. Sorry.
Jesus.
I've had a really rough day, fellas.
Oh, Space Kid.
Mate, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I've had a rough day.
You're listening to Way Off Central.
He went to go make a tag, and I was tagging, and he slid on his ass cheek.
Oh, no.
He didn't make the tag.
Oh,
You have
no.
no idea what I'm dealing with. The fucking grass seed abrasions I've got going on mixed with dirt. And
Do you know how you sit down? You sit on your ass.
On Monday night, I took a dive for a try. And you know how you can normally get an arm underneath you to like sort of break your fall?
Yeah.
Just did not in it. Yeah, I just like chest straight to the ground and then my chin followed and hit the deck. I was like, oh no, this is a bad day.
They're the best.
It sucked.
No, that straight ass.
fuck. Might take these off the table because... Oh, fuck. Who mentioned us in their story?
All right, real quick. Our phones are blowing up.
Tani mentioned us in our story.
Oh, Tani.
Tani,
Tani's
you
a farmer.
Tani is a farmer, actually. That makes way more sense.
Tani the farmer.
It's so weird when I met her. Like I thought she was like real sort of city. Like she's got a real city vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
Complete fucking opposite. Hey? She's like teaching Corey how to use guns and shit. It's fucking wild.
Yeah, Corey's the city slicker.
All right, sick. What are we talking about today, boys?
Today we are talking about stuff to do with animals and genetic modification and breeding and de-extinction and zoos and all sorts of good shit.
Fuck yeah. Let's really get around it today.
You know what we really need to do for our podcast? Just over-the-top hand gestures.
Oh, yeah, which people can't see because we don't have
A
a
boppity
visual
boppity
component. But
Yeah.
really, I think that'll help us get fucking hot about some sick fucking topics. And jacked and tan. Alright, a Zoos Humane. Thoughts? Let's go.
Some definitely are.
And some definitely aren't.
That was my next point. Good one.
Yeah.
Pretty sure SeaWorld's pretty good.
See, I'm so glad you brought this up because this was a big topic for me. Because SeaWorld in Australia, fucking awesome. SeaWorld over in the States, evil cunt. Evil.
I believe it.
So there's this documentary, and I remember it was the first thing I ever watched when I got Netflix. It's called Blackfish. And it was about like the killer whales, the orcas that they have in SeaWorld in the States. And they keep it in these tanks that are like nowhere near big enough. And their dorsal fins get these big curves on them. And every now and then they just lost their shit and would attack and kill a trainer and would drown them and play with them and fuck them up. And I'm like, yeah, good.
Sorry, that's an important note, but like just as you said that, it just made me think of like an amalgamation of the two movies Black Swan and Big Fish. I thought it was pretty hilarious. But anyway, continue.
Not as good as the fucking word amalgamation. What a cracker.
Yeah, but that's not funny.
Talking about that, the people who like pay the builders on my job site, like it's their building, who are getting it constructed for them. Amalgamated Property Group.
Wow.
What a name.
Jeez.
That's a fucking name,
It's a
eh?
mouthful.
I feel like dry ice should be like froth and steam over something while
I got
they
told
come
off.
out on segways.
I got told off recently. Well, not told off, but told I couldn't use the word finite in an email because
Really?
it wasn't like plain English enough. And I thought, guys, like what the fuck? And then,
Avengers Endgame.
well, here's the thing, right? Then the next, I seen that same person who I like really get on well with. It awesome, but they were writing an email and they were about to use the word inundated. I was like, I'm not allowed to use finite, but you can use the word inundated.
Oh, I haven't heard the word inundated, but I'm going to assume it means out of date.
Nah, it means overwhelmed.
Fuck.
Like I've been, I guess bombarded sort of is a similar.
You
a synonym.
often you'll hear a town that's been inundated by floodwaters. Like yeah, it essentially just means overwhelmed. Can't be handled. But that's weird because I'm sure they would have allowed you to use infinite, which is actually more complex than finite.
Yeah, well, it's a more complex phenomena, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly.
But anyway, let's get back to the
Big
topic
word.
at hand. So, SeaWorld in Australia, I think they must like have an outlet where they let the dolphins sort of roam, I think, in the bay. netted off or foam thinged off. And then for the shows and stuff, they bring them in, but they're quite widely accepted as being very good from a conservationist point of view. They're pretty.
I think if you look at most places in
pretty,
Australia, they're pretty well up to standard.
Yeah. And it's, if anything, it's just a cultural thing. Like, you're a piece of shit if you own a zoo and you're like fucking on your animals and stuff. Like, ever since the late Uncle Steve Irwin, he's really, I think, set the bar. So everyone's like, yeah, we're in this country, we're on the ball. Whereas, like, you look at that SeaWorld in the States, again, not affiliated in any way with SeaWorld in Australia. I think the difference is SeaWorld over there is one word. SeaWorld here is two words or something. But it's fucked. Like, the shit they were doing over there.
I guess you got to look at it from a contextual standpoint. If you look at when zoos first rocked up, you know, that, like, it was part of the circus. It was a spectacle for people to come and see and prod at and, you know, see what happens when you know, you poke an animal this way or whatever. Whereas now you look at it and zoos are far more about, you know, the actual educational thing and, like, you know, getting funding for actual preservation of animals and wildlife and habitats and all that sort of stuff. You look at things like reserves where, you know, it's not just a zoo as such, but it's actually a place where the animals are kept safe.
Sort of a sanctuary, really.
Yeah, but also allowed to develop naturally.
Yeah, I think the big ones that come to mind, especially here on the East Coast, we've got Taronga and Western Plains. They're the big ones that seem to be really proactive in terms of trying to look after these animals. But in saying all this, I do struggle sometimes thinking about, like, those tigers that walk up and down the glass the same fucking 30, 40, 50 metres up and down all day. Like, it's just not enough room for them. And chimps, monkeys and gorillas are the big ones for me, because I'm like, you guys need more room than this. Like, they always look to be having fun, but they're wanking all day, aren't they?
Yeah, you don't want to shit at all the people on the park, as you would if you're in the same place all the time. But they got, like, their ropes and shit. It looks okay, but
it just can't be enough room.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what gets me.
It makes sense if zoos had, like, visiting hours, like you had to book in a time to go. So it's like 30 minutes where the animals spent in the enclosure or something, and then, like, 4 times a day, and then the rest of it they're out in, like, a paddock or some shit.
Well, I'd like to think that there is sort of a larger paddock for when the zoo is shut, sort of late afternoon into the evening in a lot of zoos, but I'm not sure that that's the case. I know definitely in some, like out in Dubbo, all that's there, Dubbo, shout out to Dubbo, absolute shithole, but your zoo is cracking. And they sort of bring them into the enclosure, lure them in a bit for the big hours and whatnot. You know what worries me? Sorry, just back on SeaWorld, but SeaWorld in Australia, they have a polar bear there. And that always made me go, it's got to be a bit hot for the big fella. Like, on the Gold Coast, of all places.
And then, you know they'd make, like, a climate suitable for it, but...
No, it's outside, and it's just got a pool.
Oh, it'd be ice water.
Fucking loving it.
It'd be like a plunge pool.
Oh, it fucking loves it. It looks happy.
Yeah.
Because they struggle, polar bears. Like, they struggle for food. Such a... I don't know... Like, I know it's weird to say this, but I don't get why, as a species, they haven't migrated south more than they have. Like...
Well, you just got to think about how far they can get. Like, do you mean, like, from North Pole to South Pole? Because that's pretty well impossible for them.
No, but I just mean, like...
Catch a plane, mate. We've got airports everywhere.
No, but I just mean...
Oh, you're talking about the Bundaberg bear.
No,
he's got it sorted out.
Obviously, I mean...
Yeah.
South.
Yeah.
A bit deeper into the woods of Alaska and Canada, or...
Yeah.
Or, again, in Russia. Russia is a bit fucking tricky for them, but...
Honestly, they probably have a bit, and they've probably just been hunted out. Because that'd be like a big rarity thing, you know? If you're in the woods in northern Canada and
dangerous thing.
Oh, yeah,
out of all the
doubt.
bears, I think... Pretty sure they're the big dogs. I'm pretty sure they're worse than grizzlies.
Polar bears are massive.
What a scary fucking animal bears are. Bears are, like, crazy. And the thing about that bears is they're, like, merciless.
Yeah.
Like, once they've got you, they won't wait till you like you know how like
People say
big
play
cats
dead.
will catch you and then kill you and then eat you. Bears will eat you while you're still kicking and screaming. Once they've sort of got you in their grasp, they're just chowing down. And I've heard mixed theories about mixed opinions in regards to the playing dead thing. I can't imagine it works. Because whenever there's a carcass kicking around, they go fucking feed on it. It's not just salmon and berries they eat. Like, they eat meat.
I always thought, like, if I was in a situation where a bear was attacking me and I was in like the woods where trees were plentiful, I'd like get behind one and sort of like I would never turn my back to it and try and run, or I would run in like a serpentine pattern through the trees.
Apparently they're so quick, so agile. They climb trees like there's no tomorrow. That's the thing. They're like undercover athletes.
Exactly.
Like, what can you do? They just say hold your hands behind your neck.
Yeah.
But
It's sort of weird.
You know what's weird? I reckon I'd try and cuddle one. Because they portray, like, think about Winnie the Pooh, teddy bears, Yogi Bear, fucking every sort of bear you see growing up. You go, I can make friends with you. Easy. Just try and give it a cuddle. There's that show, My Best Friend's a Bear, where someone actually raised a bear and, like, lives with it.
But then
You'd have to try.
Think about the movie Revenant.
Yeah, that's true.
Haven't seen it, so I'm in
Not
the
a lot
clear.
of words in the film, but fuck man, if your palms aren't sweaty through the whole film.
I've got a theory, right? Pretty well, and like unless there's a significant speed difference, and by that I mean the thing chasing you is significantly faster. In a game of cat and mouse, the mouse should always win because the cat is always reacting to what the mouse does.
And therefore slower.
Exactly. So provided you've got the stamina and the speed, and you know it is a heavily wooded area or something like that, you should be able to outrun the bear, provided you're willing to go through as much pain as it is.
I've thought about this too, and I just don't know if physically we're fast enough as people.
Well, yeah. See,
Because I
that's
think
the thing.
bears can reach like, let's Google like bear top speed.
But then surely our acceleration is a bit better than theirs, just because they're behemoths.
Yeah, and
So
also
even if
like
you're
our
not
direction
making
change.
distance, but you're zigzagging.
Yeah.
And as long as you're staying away from
Okay,
it.
so polar bears 40 k's an hour, which is faster than Usain.
That's fast, but can it change direction? Like if I'm running in a straight line and all of a sudden pop a left, you know, can it do that same thing in the same time that I can? Can I pop a left?
I don't know about agility. Grizzly bears can
Yeah.
reportedly reach up to 35 miles an hour.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty quick.
35 miles an hour.
Fuck
So
me.
over 50, nearly 60 k's.
That's what, like 80 knots? So?
What's that in meters per second? Actually, that's a pretty easy conversion.
What's that in Lamingtons per sausage rolls?
Mate, you're forgetting all about the barbecue sauce.
What's that like?
Confused upside down laughing.
Fuck,
Yuck,
sorry.
yuck.
I saw the polar bear at Dubbo Zoo, and my dad told me to,
A Dubbo Zoo?
or wherever the fuck.
Go, SeaWorld.
No, I saw
Wasn't
a
there?
polar bear somewhere else at a zoo. I've never been to SeaWorld. And my dad, I know I saw one because my dad said there was a lady like talking about polar bears. I was like, Dad told me to ask the lady, do they have short little tails that sit over their bums to stop the water from going in it? I did, and she laughed and she's like, yes. I was like, whoa.
Oh my god.
Holy fuck. Okay, so one's from mountainnature.com and one is from Polar Bear Safety Facts. Both of them say, do not run. You cannot outrun a bear, so don't even try. Despite rumours on the contrary, black and grizzly bears can outrun a human on any terrain, uphill or downhill. People will tell you that you should run downhill when chased by a grizzly. Do not do it.
Not a chance. I couldn't run downhill to save my life.
Polar bear safety facts. Although unfortunately not their favourite, or even apparently like they don't even enjoy to eat humans, do not try and run away from a polar bear. They can outrun a human. I always thought our like thing as predators or survivalists was the fact that we could run for a long time. Like our cardiovascular thing.
We can run for a long time,
But
but
fuck,
we
she's
can't
not
run
quick.
quick. And the terrain is the big thing. So like if we're running through the woods and there's a tree or like a big bush in front of us, we're like, oh crap, I can't run through that bush.
Right.
Whereas a bear is like, what? Like, why did you take a left there? You could have just gone straight. Like that. That's not even an object. Like that's a couple leaves, a couple sticks, whatever.
They just say try and make yourself look as big as possible. I reckon I try and make myself look as small as possible, so I don't even look like a meal. Like, but then they eat salmon. So, like, what can you do?
Imagine being in a situation where you're running away from a polar bear. Like, where would you run?
The
You
snow's
just think
so
of like
deep where they live too. Like,
yeah, the snow's deep, and even if you're like an icy plane, how do you get away from it?
Yeah, you've got nowhere safe to go unless there's a solid building nearby or a vehicle. Then...
And you couldn't even dig a hole quick enough to hide in the snow because they'll smell you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's a big thing with like bears too, is wind direction. Like if you're downwind, if you're upwind of a bear, upwind,
Yeah.
downwind.
Yeah, no,
Upwind.
upwind,
If you're
yeah.
upwind of a bear, they'll fucking smell you.
get you.
Like
Oh no, downwind.
no,
Oh, yeah, no, yeah,
If
yeah.
you're upwind,
Yeah, they
meaning
will smell you.
They will smell you.
You want to be downwind. Yeah.
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 Got it.
We fucking got there, guys. We got there.
I mean, bears are sick, but shall we move on a smidge?
Yeah, a little bit. So, I didn't do any research, shocker, but I know most, or not most, but there are a select few animals that live, or can live, like 10 to 15 years longer in captivity than out in the wild. Is that a good thing, necessarily, or...?
I don't know. Like, I definitely believe it for the same reason that they reckon indoor cats live longer than outdoor cats.
I think it depends on your goal. So let me just pose this sort of little thought to you. Like, I've heard stories of places where it's essentially just a game reserve. So, you know, big spenders can pay a lot of money to go and hunt, you know, something like a big tiger or a big lion or something like that. Now, most people are outraged by this sort of thing, right? But what they don't understand is...
They give them blanks.
No, not even that. What's so bad?
I think I know where you're headed.
If you get a rich guy and he comes and says, "All right, sick, I'll pay $100,000 to shoot a tiger," so the people on the reserve just have to make sure that that one tiger that he has to shoot or that he wants to shoot is, you know, the old tiger who can't really run all that fast and who has actually been through his prime. He's bred a bit. He can no longer, or maybe it's a she. She can no longer breed at this point. You know, at this point, you're making $100,000 that you can now spend on preservation and development and reproduction of other tigers, you know, for the sacrifice of a couple years of this older tiger's life.
I know you want to say something, Aiden, but I'm just going to quickly butt in. What Harper's just said has really made me want to kill an animal. It really made me just want to shoot.
So I want to say that it's really interesting, especially, and it's a happy coincidence that this has been brought up at this time, because at the moment, as I've said to Joel, this whole hunting thing has become a little bit of a fascination of mine. Like I've been watching this documentary on Netflix. Well, it's a sort of series, less of a documentary, I guess, called Meat Eater. Yeah, docuseries, essentially, but not. Called Meat Eaters, and I highly suggest anyone just go watch just an episode, see if you like it. But they were talking about, I can't remember if it was this or on a JRE podcast. So they have those reserves where there's not even any sport in it, right? So over in spots around Africa, they have reserves where you go pay an absurd amount of money to kill a lion or whatever. Now, that money does actually go a lot towards the conservation spending. And it seems fucked because there's no real sport in it. Like, you've got a gun, mate, and there is a limited amount of room. Like, it's a guarantee you will win.
Yeah.
But one guy was able to pay $300,000 to kill a black rhino. Now, as we all know, rhinos are in a lot of strife in terms of sort of being endangered. And their finite numbers, but it just so happens that this rhino was an old male, not reproducing anymore, and was also very aggressive and potentially killing and causing harm to other rhinos. So they wanted to put it down anyway, and this bloke came up and paid $300,000 to kill this rhino. And I go, when you look at it like that, like, They do, annoyingly, because as shit as it is, because there doesn't seem to be much sport or much competitiveness in it, the way they do it is sort of in a sustainable manner, and it does help towards, keeping these animals.
Yeah, as
alive.
harsh as it is to say, you have to, like, when it's at this critical stage where there are like 30 left in the wild, you have to be looking at the, what is 4 years on this one rhino's life, when the money we get from that can almost guarantee 4 more rhinos, or even if it's 2 more rhinos who can then reproduce. Like it's brutal, but you have to, you've got to weigh in the costs of, which is, costs of life.
We've
One
really
or
strayed
two.
away from this Zoos Humane thing, but I think it's been a worthwhile conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been very interesting.
Do we want to keep talking about zoos at all? Or I think zoos are one of those things where it's down to your own conscience and you sort of have to make your own decision. Like, I'm more than happy to go to at least any zoo in Australia based on the fact that I'm pretty confident, but also it sounds naive, but you don't see any of the cruelness. Like in Thailand, I probably won't go and pat a tiger or see the monkeys in some places because I don't know that it's worth it for me emotionally to see them in that really bad state. Like, that'll just piss me off or whatever. But zoos, you don't really see any of the badness if there is any going on. And as shit as that sounds, like, I know that there's not much I can do unless everyone's joining in a boycott. Like, there's not much I can do that's going to stop the zoo from running. So I just think, well, fuck it, I'll go there with the missus or whatever. Like, yeah.
See them while they're still there, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's it.
And you can always do research into the zoos that you want to visit.
That's
see what
exactly
they do
right.
outside of it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
There's actually a really good place in Bali called Bali Wildlife Rescue.
Yeah,
They
right.
just like take all the injured animals that they can find, and they obviously have a housing space, but they just run off donations.
Yeah, that's the
I'd love
coolest.
to meet an orangutan. Fuck, that'd be cool.
I just don't like the look of them. I
They're
can
ugly,
only
but
disagree.
I just look at them and I see some of
You're
their
almost
behaviours.
here. Yeah.
And whilst they're gross, I'm like, you just look like you have the nicest heart. Like, heart of gold.
You're a good kid, I'm sure of it. Don't worry about what the others say. All right, next topic.
Just before we do that, right? First time I saw this question, are zoos humane? It sort of, I mean, it's a little bit weird, but it got me on the thought, what if you switch around? What if you have a human zoo? And so what I mean by that...
It's called live
I
sex
think
shows
we
in
might have
Amsterdam, I
talked
believe.
about this in like one of our very first podcasts. I listened to a podcast on it, and they had these they had African Americans for white people, like in the circuses, and they were treated
I
as
remember that.
like zoo things, and
Fuck, that does ring a bell.
and they ended up getting rights or something, and they put him out in the working space, and then he got enough money, travelled back home. His mum ended up like dying or something,
Yeah,
so he
this
came
does
back,
sound
worked a
familiar.
bit more, and then just killed himself.
That's wild.
Well, my question to you is, you look at, the modern person today, and I sort of wonder, how happy is this person? How fulfilled is this person's needs? When this person wakes up in the morning and goes to bed at night, how are they feeling it? Are they living a good life? Are they living a bad life? What's the go? If we compare the levels of all that sort of stuff that we can record to this person, let's say, I don't know, let's just say we get a random person, and from a child, we raise them in essentially a human zoo, is what I'm talking about. We raise them in a very particular environment, very structured to exactly fulfill all the human needs. So things like, I'm talking about you getting your 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours for you, 8 hours of work. Like, when they wake up in the morning and go to sleep, can we develop a system where they feel essentially entirely happy all the time?
Yeah, mate. It's
And
called
they're
MDMA.
watched.
No.
And they're watched.
Well, yeah. Let's say we put
Like the Truman Show.
let's say we put a baby in this environment, and from literally the get-go, they're raised by some form of system that every day not only educates and provides the necessary essential things like food and water and whatnot, but provides things like challenges and all sorts of stimulus. Essentially what I'm wondering is, can we make someone happier while still maintaining and meeting all the requirements of being human? Or will it actually make them something different if we subject them to this environment?
I feel like that'd happen to anyone. Well, in my head, your description of it, just I pictured they've placed in this environment and they've just got like everything they could ever ask for or like ever need or ever think of needing, but they don't. All they need to do is their 8 hours of work each day to keep going for that. So that sort of is their challenge. They've just got to keep working, and then after that, like they just have access to absolutely everything and don't need to like just grind their gears to get a little taste.
It seems
of
like there's no way for them to be uncomfortable, but there's no way for them to be like over comfortable, like by pleasure either.
Yeah,
this just reeks of the Truman Show. That's all I'm picturing in my head.
Well, my thought is, if you don't expose someone to
like politics or anything, or
well, not only that, but let's say the three of us had never seen these rich people in their houses and people riding jet skis and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, would we be more content with what we have, having never understood or considered the fact that other people have that?
The fact of, are you drawing a comparison between, let's look at animals that are born in the zoo? It's like, don't know what they're missing out on.
Well,
or don't know how good they have it.
Yeah, well, that too. Don't know what it's like to be hungry. Probably don't know what it's like to be full either.
I guess what I'm asking is not only that, but can you quantify what it is to live a positive life?
I don't think you can. I think it's all perspective.
Subjective.
Yeah.
All right, well, here's another question for you. Can you live a more positive life never having bad experiences?
I'm going to say no. And I base it on the fact of, like, there's this thought that's of high level versus low level fun.
Yeah, how do you distinguish them both if you've never...
It's like high level fun... low level fun is something like a roller coaster. Like, you hop on the roller coaster, like, yeah, this is fucking awesome, and then you hop off. Then you kind of never talk about it. High level fun is when, and like we've been through this, the three of us ourselves, go through just fucking shit experiences. Like, let's say it's just like Kiama is a perfect example. Kiama, like, we just got drunk in the town of Kiama, guys. It's a coastal town, and like there was just nothing doing. There was meant to be this jazz festival on that pretty much closed up pretty early. And then we just slept in like Joel or Thomas's vans, like in a park
next to the council.
Park next to the council.
Yeah, that's the best bit.
Like, it was fucking awful.
I actually look back and think it was a great time.
But that's the thing. That's what makes it high level fun. Things that are miserable while you do them, and then you look back on them and go, "That was a pretty fucking good time." Like, and I think if you're not subjected to those shit experiences, you'll make them out. You'll either make those out of experiences that other people consider to be good. I almost think it's impossible, actually. I think it's impossible. Because I think it's impossible to find... Like, let's say someone's doing the same task every day. They're going to eventually hate it. If someone's doing 2 tasks every day, there's inevitably going to be one they like more than the other. Like, it's impossible. It's a cool phenomenon, but it's sort of hard to...
Yeah, so what you're saying, as far as I'm understanding it, is you have to have the negative...
to appreciate the positive.
Yeah, right, okay. So
if you don't fucking go through the shit, I don't know that it's worth it at the end.
What if every single day there was a slightly new challenge that was slightly harder, easy, like still
attainable?
Yeah, still attainable, but each day you have to work that slight little bit harder. Can you still achieve that level of joy?
No.
Can you
No.
still achieve that level?
Some
Because if
days you
every
just-
day is harder, then you look back on those other days like, sweet, that was easy.
Yeah, like you get burnt out, and then you're like, "Fuck! I just wish I had a day or two." It's impossible. It's got to come down with two emotions or something. Like,
I reckon we raise enough money
To get a actual person to
and
try-
we start doing
But
science.
here's the thing.
for every view this podcast gets,
we'll donate one baby to science. Here's the thing, right? I reckon it's, in a weird way, a scientist's dream. Like, think about medication. We work on mice, but imagine if they could go, fuck. Imagine being able to work on people and know the actual effects straight away.
Oh yeah, imagine
Like,
if
it
we
would
had
be-
a people farm. Like,
Oh,
just for that. Have you guys seen The Island?
no, but I actually just picture the Matrix and just picking people off.
Yeah, well, pretty
Like,
much.
just have everyone in this big simulation, then when you need someone, go,
God, I
yeah, go
really
grab
gotta-
one off the tree.
really got to watch The Matrix, don't I?
It's actually a pretty good movie.
It's a very cool idea.
The
I
only
think
reason
you'd
I-
really like it.
The
Actually,
only reason I haven't watched it is because I can't be fucked to Google which one comes first.
The Matrix, and then it's The Matrix Reloaded.
And then Revolutions.
Yeah,
Revolutions, okay, there we go. Didn't even need to Google.
I think it's purple, green, slightly greener.
Okay,
If you're looking at the cases.
maybe. I
Right.
thought they were all green. Fuck.
let's get back to topic.
Okay.
That was crazy.
All I'm gonna
Wild.
say though is, wouldn't it be good if we could get like one person and do the Jungle Book and raise them with wolves, and one person and like raise them with bear cubs? Like, I just love to see what happens. I'd love to see what would happen if someone wasn't subject to all our education, and if evolution has brought them to a point where we could quite comfortably survive. Like, what if we just got four babies? Oh, let's make them sort of. You'd have to raise them with chimps. You have to raise the first lot with chimps and then strip them away once they're adults and ready to reproduce, and then have them form their own little tribe and just actually watch evolution happen again. It'd
That'd be
just be
crazy.
cool. Fucking cool to see.
It's
Hypothetical.
interesting
I'm not talking
science.
about using real people, just Harper-like people.
Oh, dog. We
Next
Harpers are a
topic.
proud bunch.
De-Extinction. I love the idea of this. I think it's great. I think it's the great of thinking that something's lost forever and then us being able to bring it back.
It's like we're playing God. God, it feels good. I'm not even the
But
one doing
we're-
it, but it feels fucking wild.
But the thing was, we're sort of playing God by killing them off in the first place.
Oh, without a doubt.
And
At the very least, like angels, just having fun with it. Oh, look at this one. Stab. Oh, whoops.
here's
Go
the
on.
thing. The environment will always adapt. So there was this Australian biologist that, again, listened to his episode on JRE. He thought it was fucking awesome. He was describing how, let's say an animal's extinct and it fucks up that ecosystem for a little bit. In a few X amount, like 100 years, like a few hundred years or however long, that environment's going to readapt and it'll be okay. It'll balance itself out. One day nature will do that with us. Get rid of humans and it'll be happy again. If, let's say, an animal's extinct and then 30, 40, 50 years later, whatever, we then bring it back, it's not so problematic. It's not problematic for that ecosystem because it hasn't really adjusted back again to not having it.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying it's cool for us
is
to
the
do.
perfect example. The Tasmanian tiger, the thylacine. If we brought them back,
It's not
it
so
probably
far
wouldn't-
out.
It's not so far out that
Yeah.
it would now fuck up Tasmania because it hasn't been so long since they've been gone. If you believe they're fully gone, it's so much bush out there. I can almost believe it. I so want to believe it.
It would be good.
Like a
It'd
big
be
dog,
sick to
but it's
see.
got a pouch. Fucking cool. Cool animal.
I sort of had a similar note. It'd be sick. Like it's an absolutely awesome idea, but it's only good if we can sustain it.
Mm.
And if we're talking about things like,
Mammoth.
well, obviously the thylacine's a good example for what you just said. But if we're talking about things like dinosaurs or, anything after a long, long period of time, that's talking about creating whole new ecosystems. Like, we're talking entire habitats where a dinosaur can actually thrive because it's got, the plants that it needs and, the prey and predator that it needs to sustain that ecosystem.
Which, again, it would probably eventually balance out, but
Yeah.
I look at it like... You guys familiar with Flash Time? I'm going to have to explain it for the podcast anyway, but the Flash in the DC Comics goes back in time, fucked everything up, so then he went back in time again and tried to fix it up. So things were fixed, but not completely fixed, and still sort of fucked, and then he went, oh, fuck, I just have to live with it. I look at it like humans kill off an animal, and we're like, oh, that's fucked. We should go back and try and bring it back, but then we might end up making things worse, and we should just live with the fact that, unfortunately, we've killed off this animal, but keep it going. But I do want mammoths back. But I watched a doco on SBS a few years ago, and I think they sort of lost their shot. Like, they had the DNA, and then they were trying to get it into this, like, the last suitable elephant, which was in Indonesia, and I just don't think it took to or would work. Something with it genetically just meant it's a no-go. So I don't know if mammoths are going to be a thing, which is unfortunate because I'm a big fan. But
Mammoths are like significantly bigger than elephants, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, but I don't know that the difference was that big at birth, and they would probably be able to surgically do something. Like, I don't know what the exact process was going to be. It was probably just get it up to a certain stage and then grow the rest of it somewhere else.
Yeah, get something that has mammoth DNA out there, and let's see what happens next.
Because they found this mammoth DNA like perfectly preserved in Siberia somewhere. And I was like,
that does sound familiar.
Like, I was like, that's fucking awesome. But
Imagine them bringing mammoths back and putting them in the same habitat as polar bears. I can't say polar bears doing too well. I feel like if we brought any dinosaur back and like let them roam free in a habitat, there might be other animals that go extinct.
That's exactly
100%.
what we were talking about just before. Like that, that's the risk of doing this sort of thing.
100%. But you know what? I really want to see how stuff like a croc squares up.
Yeah, imagine T-Rexes roaming around and just like tripping over power lines.
Yeah,
The problems that I think if like there was enough of them and out roaming free, we might end up like moving into like small colonies again.
I think the thought was, I think the thing around de-extinction is much more realistic. Like, I don't think anyone's thinking about bringing back dinosaurs because we don't even know what they looked like, really.
Yeah.
Like, we have a fair idea, but like, is it not generally accepted a meteorite took them out? That one wasn't on us, so fuck you guys. We'll try again.
this is meant to have happened. The space said yes, sir.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
It's more like they find a turtle and it's the last turtle, so then they put it into a similar turtle or tortoise or whatever, and try and bring back these animals that are getting killed recently by plastic straws and whatnot. Like,
Yeah, how far off are we from de-extinction if we can make chicken meat from just the DNA of a chicken?
how far off are we from de-extinction? I don't know if there's any. I'm sure there's an example where this has actually happened.
Was it us that was talking about eating the same chicken? No, I don't think. All right.
Culture chicken? No?
So the thought is, right, we get to a stage where we can pretty well clone animals.
We cloned a sheep once.
And so we no longer breed we no longer mass breed chicken, let's say. And there is there's huge amounts of chickens bred for, everyday consumption and all that sort of thing. Let's say we can now clone chickens so we don't need to breed them. What happens to the variance in the actual meat that we're consuming? So if you just keep cloning this one chicken and everybody is now eating just, let's call it chicken A, we're now no longer getting any of the varying substances, varying chemical makeup.
Genes.
Yeah, genes, vitamins, minerals, all the sorts of things that make up chicken A is different to chicken B.
I don't know that it'll be a massive problem. I don't know that chickens or even any animal, I don't know that the genetic makeup varies that differently for us from a nutritional standpoint. The way I do view it, and I could be so fucking wrong on this, like I am pulling this out of my ass, but like a photocopy or like cutting keys, like the first one you copy or cut is like pretty bang on, and then you do it the next one and it's a little bit different, and the next one and it's a little bit worse, and
Micro
a little bit worse,
differences.
and micro differences to the point where chicken A now and chicken A in a year or two could look whoa fucking different.
Yeah.
But in
now we're
saying
talking
that, but in saying that, that's photocopying. That's not cloning. Cloning literally meaning the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
In that case, may or may not be a problem. Like, it's not less of a bird. It's the same fucking... It's a full fucking chicken.
The question just is it a problem for me to have the exact same chicken in every meal that I have chicken, you know? Chicken that I have at home, the chicken breast, chicken thigh, chicken that I get on a burger at KFC, Macca's,
You might be missing out on some like bacteria that could be good or bad for you.
Yeah, that's exactly
That's
the
See, I
worry.
just feel like... Look, if we did it for everything, it would be a problem. It would be a problem. But the fact is, if we did it for one animal, like... We never get all our nutrients from just one source.
Yeah.
So I don't see it being an issue in that regard. Like,
Have you heard of the like aeritarians or whatever? Like people who just breathe air for like concentrate and like meditate for like 12 hours a day and they don't eat.
12
Apparently
hours a
it's
day
a
isn't
thing.
that long.
To meditate.
Oh, to meditate, yeah, but to not eat 12 hours isn't that long.
But like no, they don't eat anything at all. Supposedly. They just drink water.
Don't eat ever.
Yeah. Well, apparently.
That's wild.
And I think the
Pretty sure
longest-
science says they last about a week. Or, sorry, like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know how well that works. I'm not trying to shit on you here. I just
No,
can't.
these are just shit
I just can't imagine it working.
hippie sort of fad
It,
things.
yeah, it'd have to be like, oh, we don't eat for like 2 weeks. And then they would have to eat, like, medically. Either that or die.
A few sesame seeds.
Shall we look into the realm of selective breeding?
Yes.
Our next
Let's
topic.
do it.
We've been doing it forever.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Dogs. Think a sausage dog just fucking happened? Fucking no.
Yeah, you think that thing has a purpose outside of like a household environment?
Not a chance.
No natural situation bred that as a good idea.
I tell you what they're good for: stopping the breeze coming out from under a door. That is it.
And even then, that's only when they're laying down.
Can't imagine a chihuahua banned just out of nature.
Yeah.
A rodent fucked a dog and there you go. Like,
Dog fucked a rodent.
Actually, now
could be
we're
either way.
chihuahuas might be a wild animal.
Now I think about it.
They're actually just distant relatives of the guinea pig.
Yeah.
We're big on it with cattle as humans too. So we do it for cattle to like. Have you seen those like cows / bulls that are just buff as fuck? They do them for meat, I think, but then at the same time, I don't know how well it comes off. They're just like they're big on it for bull riding. Bull riding, they love it. Like they'll get this cow and this bull that they know is good for it.
It's the same with horses. Like,
Yeah, horse racing, horse
Yeah.
breeding. Like, we've been doing it forever, but I think we're taking it to the extreme in some regards for agriculture.
Do you think athletes sell their sperm? Or some have tried? Surely there are people out there looking for like LeBron James semen to make a new basketball star.
I don't know if they do. Humans selectively breed. We have a thing, like genetically, where,
yeah.
like,
We've
from a
mentioned
biological
this before.
standpoint, we look for people like that will create the strongest offspring with us. I don't know how like strong we always hold up to it, but I know some people are just like, yeah, I want to sleep with like an islander, so then I just produce like the ultimate fucking footballer or athlete or
Yeah, they're called
like
bogans.
survivor. No, but you know what I mean though. Like,
Even just look back at some ancient human culture. You look at people. Actually, it's really prevalent in both Greek and Pacific Island culture, any babies that were deformed or, you know, threatened the sort of well-being of the group were discarded at birth. So you look at things like the Greek Spartans and actually a lot of people in the Greeks, if a baby looked unhealthy at birth, it was just discarded. It wasn't worth having around. And similarly, if you look at the Pacific Islanders, if a baby looked small and weak and sickly, it was tossed aside and left. And that's how you end up with these, you know, you look at a lot of people in the Pacific Islands, naturally they're big people.
It's survivors. And I hear some people just go, it's because they ate all that taro. And I think it does help.
Oh, it definitely helps. But the thing is, their bodies are naturally developed to handle that taro and develop it into who they become.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's even... Look, this is going a little bit off the topic here, but when you think about some tribes, they'd be respectful and all the rest of it. And then when someone was getting elderly and a bit of a hindrance to the tribe, they'd also knock them off quietly as well.
Smart.
I'd believe it.
Like,
This is pretty much our zombie apocalypse situation.
Yeah, it is.
So we said, like, Aiden said, sorry, Mum. Like, I could probably wash me fucking clothes down in the creek. There's not much good there. Dog cunt.
We don't need to bring that up again.
What was her reaction to that? Did she listen to that bit?
Didn't listen to it.
Classic.
I'll probably throw enough truth bombs around at home.
Might shoot her a message, tell her to listen to it.
Yeah, but selective breeding, how do we think about it ethically? Like, what do we think about breeding dogs to the point where they're basically born a vet's dream? Like they grow up. French bulldog, vet sees one in town, licks their fucking lips. Like, oh, here comes the money. Deformed at birth. They can't breed naturally. They can't fit.
I know people like have crossbred, like a German. No, don't ever touch me. Don't touch me.
Yeah, you're gonna be quiet this episode, I reckon.
Well, I've been pretty far away. Crossbred like German Shepherd and Corgi or something.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them.
Might be cute, but the back problems.
Oh,
fuck! Could you imagine?
Can you balance hip dysplasia with like middle back problems? I don't know.
Yeah, the spine just goes like that.
Fuck. Joel made the form of a snake there.
Scoliosis. I don't think I agree with it as much with dogs, purely because I like dogs and I think they're cute. If they crossbred cats or mice, I wouldn't give a fuck.
Even for cattle, it seems a bit harsh, but I don't mind it in terms of like for producing meat. Like you get the buffers to this and the buffers to that, and then you can, like as a farmer, you can sell, like eventually you'd be able to sell so much more steak. And I prefer that to like something that's injected with hormones. Something that just is semi-naturally quite just fucking buff, you know?
I think the way it's been done so far is quite irresponsible, actually. So, you know, you look at cows in particular, they've been bred to be big and fat and, you know, produce a lot of meat.
Mm-hmm. No? Not necessarily fat.
Well, yeah, no, not necessarily fat, but, you know,
jacked
like
and tan,
voluptuous, and there's a lot of meat to them. Whereas I think, and don't get me wrong, this isn't necessarily an easy process. But what if we were able to selectively breed them to a point where they can produce a lot of meat and have, you know, less environmental impact? What if we can selectively breed a cow that somehow is able to eat slightly less and still produce just as much mass?
Well, I think that's a great point, because a big thing with cows is the amount of methane they produce.
Well, methane they produce, and also the land it takes to own one. You know, you think about the square meterage that you have to have a cow.
Yeah, how much?
I mean, here's the thing about cows, though. They've got 4 stomachs. Like, surely they absorb most of what they eat. I don't know how much more efficient we can make a cow.
Yeah, like how much grass does a cow
in the
eat?
intestine, mostly in the small intestine for humans.
But the fact is, I think they haven't, you know, they've only been bred to produce massive amounts of meat. They've not been bred for efficiency of production of meat, which is where it should have started, you know, obviously thousands of years ago. But
in saying that, it's sort of the same thing, really. When you think about it, like you get one very, very large cow or 2 medium to smaller sized cows, probably eating a similar amount. You'd assume that the larger cow is almost more efficient just by happy coincidence, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, if instead...
Could have been done better. I'm not disagreeing with you there.
Yeah.
It's just...
Great, yeah. Like, as I'm saying, it's not... I'm not saying this is an easy process. I'm not saying this sort of thing is even possible. But it's definitely something that we should look into and
I actually think
should
it's
have been thought about earlier.
I think it's possible when we start looking to our next topic, which is genetic modification. And did we want to roll into that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that goes hand in hand with...
What we're talking about.
That's just agricultural selective plantations.
Because there was only one thing I was able to find, which is... the one example of genetic modification is the Enviro pig, which is trademarked. Pardon me. And through genetic engineering, the animal emits 30 to 60% less phosphorus than traditional pigs fed the same conventional diet. Not really sure what other stuff there is, if I'm honest, besides that. I'm sure there's fish and rabbits and shit that glow. I'm sure people would have done that for shits and gigs, but other than that, I've got no idea other than luminous animals.
I think you can just look quite majorly at produce.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's really way more prevalent, I think, with at least that we hear about with produce and.
Well, it's just easier. You look at how long it takes to
Yes.
breed and change a generation of a cow.
Oh god, yeah.
Whereas you can run 3 generations of corn in 1 year. You know, like it's not a hard process in that.
What's that thing they've got going on in Africa where they genetically modified
maize?
Yeah, to be like didn't catch some sort of disease or was like something better. Like I know it was like a big deal. Like really helped.
I think they've definitely been modifying them to rely on less water. But I mean, they're doing that with pretty well everything these days because,
yeah,
as we've said, water's running out.
At least in this country.
I know for a fact that pigs, like your regular farm pigs, once they're like let into the wild, within like 3 months or so, they'll turn into boars. Like they'll grow tusks, their skin will change from the pink to like a brown stuff. Is that because we've genetically modified pigs, or is that because we've sort of bred them into a environment where they don't need like the...
I think we've probably bred them into an environment.
Yeah,
I
that's a selective thing.
I don't think we've genetically modified them. Like
Carrots
for those that aren't familiar, because I guess this podcast has sort of taken on the assumption that a lot of people just sort of know what these topics are, which aren't really everyday household chit chat bits and pieces. So selective breeding seems fairly self-explanatory, but that's just picking 2 animals. Let's say you pick the smallest dog and the smallest dog, you breed them together, you get another small dog. Continue that process till you get
The smallest
dog.
dog.
The smallest dog. Cows, buff cow. Breed them together. That's selective breeding. Genetic modification is actually adjusting the genetic makeup or adding changing the chemical structure or DNA or whatever it might happen to be, or however you want to phrase it, of an organism. And they fucking love it with plants.
If you're talking about like genetic modification of
We've talked about this.
Yeah, I think we have a bit.
But
Definitely
sort of,
touched
it
on
was in a silly way. It was when we were talking about food, and we're like, what if we could make a melon, but the outside tasted like the inside? Like that sort of shit.
I think when you're talking about genetic modification, you really need to look at the purpose. So you look at things like just the produce industry. They're genetically modifying these things to look good and to have good, shelf life and that sort of thing. Whereas I would much sooner see a banana that looks like rubbish, like it's got brown bits, it looks trash, but it's actually somewhat healthier. It's got a higher sugar content or it's got a lower sugar content depending on what you want. I think we really need to look at why we're doing these things as opposed to... Well, not as opposed to anything, but yeah, we need to have a good purpose for doing it as opposed to just making money. It should be, let's breed a crop of apples that, I don't know, has, let's just say a higher sugar content. Let's say that that's our goal, because apples recently have been lacking in sweetness, or people need a little bit more sugar in their diet or something like that, we should be moving for that sort of model as opposed to having the mindset that that apple looks bad, therefore I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, I feel like we've been at that mindset for a little bit in terms of like some of the real pioneers in this look at it like mostly for disease-resistant agriculture.
Yeah, and look,
If
that's
only you
a
could
reasonable
make
cop.
Needle-resistant strawberry.
Imagine having to peel your strawberry.
Yuck. I mean, you got to take the top off, but that's pretty easy.
Yeah. Or you don't have to.
But the thing is, you cut it in half and you still wouldn't fucking know.
Yeah,
It's
it could
just
be.
wild.
Yeah.
Could be anywhere in that strawberry.
Everything you eat has to be a puree from now on.
Yeah.
What if they did it diagonally? So instead, like let's say you cut it into little slices, which is a gross way to eat a strawberry, but you get that
Really?
other big
Depends how you eat it. Banana split.
Have you seen?
actually, you're right.
You seen like when you slice a straw, like you cut the green bit off, and then you slice a strawberry, but not all the way through, and then you like fold it out, and it comes like a fan strawberry. That's
Yeah.
fancy stuff.
That is snazzy.
I've never heard of that ever.
I'm pretty sure we did it.
I've never heard of that
For
ever either, but it
hospitality.
sounds snazzy.
Surely.
I'm pretty happy with this as an episode.
As am I.
Yeah, I reckon it's been good.
Guys, that was episode 20. Really do hope you enjoyed. We've got a couple little... Well, you hopefully would have seen in the last week our post for the farmers. This is recorded just after that's been posted, so we don't know how much we've raised yet, but hopefully we've got a little bit of money moving. We've also got a couple other little charitable things. Actually, let's cut that. I don't want to talk about that.
We'll do that next week.
Episode 20.
20
Really hope you
whole
enjoyed,
episodes
guys.
we've been doing this for.
Crazy.
It's fucking wild. That's
Fuck me.
awesome.
When
And-
did we start this? What month was it?
And we haven't filmed one thing.
Well, 20 weeks back. So,
5 months
April
ago.
or something.
oh,
Was it
actually,
May?
it's probably like 21 weeks back.
May.
Yeah.
Probably April. April, May.
I'm pretty
I've
sure it was
really-
in the month of Harper's birthday. So.
I'm not going to lie. I've enjoyed it. And it doesn't even it doesn't ever feel, I don't know about you guys, and I hope it doesn't
Never
feel
feels like a chore.
Never
Yeah.
feels like a chore for me. Like, I'm always excited. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. Recording tonight, not...
After I was like, fuck, I'm sweaty.
Oh,
Can't believe I have to go
after
to Harper's
today, I
house.
was like, oh, fuck.
Where
Well,
it
but today
doesn't
was,
have air conditioning.
today was more of a, fuck, I wish I could swing by home first. But,
You really like you would have had time.
oh, maybe. Yeah, actually, I'll drive.
I just like it as a chance to think about something different.
Oh,
I
it's-
spend like 16 hours a day thinking about work. The 2 hours I wake up, getting ready for work, at work late, come home, think about what I got to do tomorrow. This is just a good chance
Just sort
to
of
think about
expanding
something
your
else.
mind a little bit and
Yeah,
sort of a bit of a release, and we sit here and chat and Joel learns some things.
I just get free beers out of it.
couple bevs, couple boys.
It's good. And look, here's the thing. I know all the content. Joel and I talked about this a little bit in regards to the pie trip. It will happen, and I have no doubt it will happen because the podcast ended up happening as long as we procrastinated about it. Like, it did happen. And it's more just a fact of, like, we all got full-time jobs.
Yeah, we're
Everyone's-
just as busy as everyone listening to this.
Oh, probably busier.
yeah, if
if
not
I'm
busier.
honest, like,
Two of us have two
Two
jobs.
jobs, like-
Both of it, like all three of us, study and go to a full-time job with plenty of overtime.
I don't do much OT.
Yeah, well, but
Good
you're-
job, mate.
It's called flexi.
Yeah, I've got a bit of flex time built up actually. Today I was like, fuck it, I'll use half a pack her up early.
That's it. Episode 20.
Fucking hope you enjoyed. Hey, hope you guys
Just
learned a thing or two.
just a big thanks to anyone who actually does consistently listen, or even if you don't consistently listen, just giving us a couple.
Big thanks to anyone that listens. I think in the next week, this is a big thing that I will actually post about in the next few weeks. We're going to start really hammering down hard on trying to get you guys to write in for little things for us to talk about. So this was an idea of Joel's, was any sort of relationship questions you might have. We might throw them in. Any sort
Because
of...
we're the experts on that sort of
That's
thing.
exactly why I want to talk about it, because we pretty much have no right in talking about it, but
But you know what?
You're all nosy cunts.
We guide people to a treasure that we can't possess.
Hey, it's like the 8 hours balance thing.
Sorry to Aiden's missus.
Love you.
Tegan sent us a message today. We've mentioned Tegan on the cast before, but yeah, she was like, "Oh yeah, like the 8 hours sleep, 8 hours work, 8 hours for yourself. That's a bloody dream." And we were like, "Yeah, yeah, that is definitely a dream that we have, but cannot achieve for ourselves."
I don't know how she doesn't have that. Surely study counts as the 8 hours for yourself.
Oh, 100%.
In part, study's hard sometimes.
Yeah, I
Not
do
if
feel
you're
that.
smart enough.
Jeez, sorry, mate.
You're dumb as fuck.
You're right there.
Don't go study if you don't do anything hard, mate.
Never try, never fail.
Alright, fucking hell.
All right, let's wrap her up. See ya, fuckers.
Way off Central, guys.
That was a Titancast episode.